Hey, this is George. Have you ever heard of Anchor.fm? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. Number two, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can hear it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Check out Anchor.fm on the iOS and Android systems.
Need psychotherapy online or in person? Check out tinyurl.com/THT psychotherapy. The George Brassey Podcast is made possible with funding provided from Brassey Global Strategies, LLC, a leading political consulting, public policy, government affairs, and research firm. Are you interested in running for elected office? Need advice? Call or email George, 708-769-5015. Brassey Global Strategies 1@gmail.com.
Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall. Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall, Chicago Heights, Illinois. Snow was on everybody's mind at Wednesday night's Chicago Heights City Council meeting. The Chicago area was hit by a major snowstorm, and Chicago Heights had about 10 inches of snow dumped on it Tuesday and Wednesday. City Hall was closed Wednesday afternoon because of the winter storm, and garbage pickup on Wednesday and Thursday was also postponed. And students at Chicago Heights School District 163 went to remote learning Wednesday because of the storm. The mayor's chief of staff, Karen Zuccarelli, thanked city workers for their efforts. She told the council that city workers had been working round the clock to keep city streets open and safe, and would continue to do so throughout the duration of the storm. Fifth Ward Alderman George Brassey also lauded city workers, saying, "The snowstorm we have experienced in recent days has been terrible, but the City of Chicago Heights Public Works Department has done an excellent job in maintaining the roads during the snowstorm. Each and every resident's request that was submitted to my office was addressed in a quick and efficient fashion." Christopher Bykoskas, 4th Ward Alderman, added that Public Works is working diligently, doing a great job cleaning up the streets. In other business, Zuccarelli said that the city would be hosting its second Illinois Department of Public Health clinic offering vaccinations and booster shots 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, February 12 at City Hall. The council also approved an ordinance renewing the city's employee health insurance policy and premium. The city expects to see premiums remain roughly the same. The city's benefits and insurance consultant told the council that he was able to negotiate lower rates with its insurer, Blue Cross/Blue Shield PPO, despite higher prescription drug usage by the 231 employees covered under the policy. Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall.
Before we get to the interview, I just want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Union Signs and Printing. Union Signs and Printing is a union sign shop located near Chicago, Illinois, that specializes in the production of corrugated plastic lawn signs used in applications ranging from political and election usages to unions, schools, and businesses. They also produce a vast array of other products, including American-made, union-printed t-shirts, banners, bio cards, literature, door hangers, business cards, and trifold. Get a hold of Union Signs and Printing at 815-740-1688 or find them on the internet at unionsignsandprinting.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about their services on the George Brassey Podcast. This is George. This is a special episode of the George Brassey Podcast. I know I haven't posted anything in a couple months, but I wanted to share this medium for a little bit of a discussion about someone who just passed last Monday, January 3rd, 2022. That would be Thornton Township Supervisor Frank Zuccarelli. I've asked a friend of his, Troy O'Quinn, to come on the podcast and talk about his life. Troy, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Georgia, thanks for having me, man.
Troy, a lot of people know Frank's political career, and we definitely want to touch on that in our podcast today. But can you talk a little bit about who Frank Zuccarelli was as a person?
Yeah. Hey, Frank is unique. Frank was a great guy. Frank had a heart that was bigger than anyone that I've ever met in my life. When you hear the expression of somebody that will give the shirt off their back, Frank literally would give you the shirt off of his back. Just a all around great kind of person that cared for people. Now, those of us, anybody that's known Frank will know that you've probably been cursed out by Frank. You've probably seen his passion when he's upset. But more than that, anyone that's lived in Thornton Township or anywhere around the area has experienced the heart of Frank when it comes to service. He never wanted anybody to go hungry, never wanted anyone to go without. And so just we were on a trip one time and just walking late at night. I mean, it was late, like, I don't know, after 1 a.m. Me and him were walking down the street and somebody approached us for money. And Frank just pulls out money, and gives this man a $20 bill and then is asking me if you think that's enough. And I'm like, Frank, come on, man, let's keep it moving. So, that's just kind of person he was. He had a great heart and cared for people. And I think that came from, he talks about his parents and his upbringing. They were a union family and grew up knowing the value of hard work. But at the same token, Frank never would turn anyone down when they were down and out. So yeah, just an all around good kind of person to know, with a heart unparalleled to anybody. When I think of the Bible, there's the passage in Matthew where Jesus is talking about, the king and the righteous servant coming to him. And the king said, hey, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. When I was naked, you clothed me. When I was in prison, you visited me. And the righteous man said, when did we ever do that? Like, you were never hungry and I never fed you or anything. And he said, no, but what you've done for the least of these, you've done for me. And so I really believe that's the kind of heart that Frank had. He served everybody out of the goodness of humanity. And our region's going to suffer from a loss like this. And so we need more people that had that kind of outlook to life.
Troy, what type of programs did Frank institute as township supervisor?
So yeah, as township supervisor, Frank was very dedicated to service. So most townships have, township government in itself is more social service kind of work, right? To care for the seniors, to care for the disadvantaged throughout the community. One of the mandates of township government is to have a general assistance program so that the unemployed or underemployed throughout the community can still have some resources when they run out of other government resources. So it's kind of a last safety net. But with Frank, he saw it as more than that. And so Frank did everything to make sure that the seniors were well cared for. He wanted to have senior lunches throughout the community, right? So it wasn't just at the township building. These lunches were all over Thornton Township so that seniors could access it wherever they might be and find something close to them. So every day of the week, there would be a senior luncheon going on at some place within the township. The food pantry We made sure that nobody went without food and that there's plenty of food at all times. So Frank was an advocate for fighting for resources and making sure that our community had them, to the point where, Frank was able to pass a tax referendum where the voters of Thornton Township increased the tax burden so that more services could be done. And that's a very hard thing to get people to vote for, but Frank was able to do it because people saw that the money was being used to truly help the least of these among us. And so, man, the services at Thornton Township, some were already in place before Frank got into office, but many he enhanced. And so that would be, the food pantry he started and then enhanced it. We had senior transportation so that seniors could get a ride to local things that they need to do, whether it was grocery store or a doctor's visit. And that was all for like a suggested donation of $1. So, Frank ran Uber before Uber was Uber, and had township vehicles all over the place to make sure our senior population could get around and do what they needed to do. Many of them took the transportation for dialysis visits and all of those kind of things. The senior outings, my gosh, we have a really strong and robust special needs outreach. So every month our special needs community gets together for various things. So whether it's bowling or fishing or once a year there's usually a really big yearly dance and different things like that. So just you name it, if somebody had a need, Frank was on it and was making sure the township had those services covered.
Troy, what do you think Frank's political legacy is now that he's passed on?
Frank's political legacy is that he was a kingmaker. You need to come through Frank Zuccarelli to make it politically. I know that President Barack Obama. Frank was one of the first Cook County committeemen to really be pushing Barack Obama when he was running for Senate. And that catapulted his political career. And so Frank saw the good in people and saw the heart of people. I know when he talked to me about his selection of at the time, Senator Obama to run for Senate, he said that one of the things that really stuck out to him was that this young man was walking around the room and talking to everybody instead of waiting for people to come up and talk to him. He was interested in people. He was interested in getting around and hearing what people needed and what people wanted and talking with people. And that's the kind of person Frank was. Frank was always an outgoing person that would get around the room, make sure that everybody was welcomed and greeted. And he wanted other people in political service to kind of be the same way, to be there for the people, be approachable, and be somebody that people could touch.
That role of kingmaker, did that cause any problems in Thornton Township that you remember?
I don't think so. Frank did listen to those around him. And so it wasn't just what Frank wanted, but he really was about serving the people, right? So when I say kingmaker, not in a bad sense, but in the sense that, Thornton Township was such a powerful place for Cook County Democrats. And Frank knew that his voice was very important in that process. And so I think he was very careful as to how he wielded that power and did it in a way that would truly help the community.
Troy, what does the future hold, in your opinion, for Thornton Township now that Frank has passed?
It's going to be a new day and time, right? Frank started his political career way back in the 80s. Or actually, he was elected to the Board of Trustees of South Suburban College. It was Thornton Community College at the time. And that was in 1978. And then he's been the board chair since 1987. And then township supervisor since 93 and committeeman since 2002. So a lot of big positions that Frank held, and having one person in all those positions was something that is unique and different. And Frank was able to pull it off. I don't think we're going to see that again, anybody able to kind of be in all those places at one time and balance it all right in a good way. So I think you're going to see a dispersion of the responsibilities and the power that was held, and so there's going to be some transition. Obviously, Thornton Township's going to be a little different than what it's been, but I think Frank has really created a nice, stable foundation that people will be able to build on in all of those positions. I think South Suburban College is in a much stronger place now than it was before, and will have a sturdier footprint and presence in the community. Thornton Township, the township will be strong as ever because those things that Frank implemented are in place and will continue. And then for the committeeman role, I think that's going to be another place where you're going to see some changes, and so I'm excited about what the future holds. There's a lot of people vying for all these offices and all these positions and doing what they need to do. It's going to be a really interesting time in Thornton Township for this election cycle and for the next several election cycles to come. But I think you're going to see really people just building off the foundation legacy that Frank's already established.
Troy, how did you come to meet Frank personally?
So I pastored in the community for many years, River Oaks Community Church in South Holland. And so I first met Frank through that, through the Thanksgiving dinners that he would hold over at South Suburban College. And I was asked one year by Jackie Rivera, the clerk, to come and speak at that event. And my worship team was asked to come and lead worship a couple years in a row. So from that, I first met Frank and got to know him. Then when I had moved away from the area for a short time, for a year, to help my mother after my father's passing, and then I came back to the area, sat down with Frank, and that's when I came to work with him over at Thornton Township. And I knew of Frank. I knew Frank on one level, but then when I came into the township service and really had direct interaction with Frank, I learned about Frank on a whole new level. And then when I took the trip to South Carolina with him after the Mother Emanuel Church massacre, I got to see the heart of Frank in the community and with people, and so yeah, it's been a real pleasure in my life and a high point in my life to be able to say that I had this opportunity to work with such a giant politically, a giant socially, and just a giant in the way that he cared for the community.
Troy, before we pressed the record button, you had told me that there was an announcement that you wanted to make today.
Yeah, so look, I just celebrated my 50th birthday, and so with that, I went ahead and made it known that I'm going to be seeking one of those seats that is vacated by Frank, and that is the Thornton Township Cook County Committeeman position. So I know there's a lot of people going to jump in the race, and we'll see what happens. That position was up for election this cycle. And so it's not anything new or a rush job, because it was up for reelection at this point. So Petitions start this week, and hey, we'll see what happens.
Troy, can you, if the voters never heard of Thornton Township, can you kind of talk about what communities make up Thornton Township?
Sure. Thornton Township's made up in whole or in part by 17 municipalities. And so the municipalities are those that sit within the boundaries of 138th Street on the north side, so up there in Blue Island, and Burnham, and then it goes all the way down to 183rd Street in Homewood and 186 in Lansing. And so the boundaries are kind of the state line, and then over to Dixie or Western is the western boundary, and then the north is 138th, the south is 183rd. And so you've got parts of Homewood, you've got all of South Holland, Calumet City, Lansing, Harvey, Phoenix, Dixmoor, Dalton. So a lot of communities in there, the village of Thornton itself. So a lot of great communities that really have some awesome opportunities coming before them. People have mixed feelings about the casino that's going to be coming to Homewood, East Hazel Crest, but that sits completely within the township. So there's a lot of development. I believe that's going to be coming to Thornton Township.
Troy, you mentioned the township, or I'm sorry, the casino. What is your position on that?
So, hey, I get both sides. I'm a resident here in Homewood. So I get the concerns of what that does to the community. But also I've been the head of general assistance for Thornton Township. So I've seen the need that people have in our township for jobs that are within our community that aren't an hour and a half bus ride away and takes multiple buses to get to, and all of those kind of things. So, I need to do some more research on it and some more understanding, but I see both sides, but I definitely value the job creation, job opportunities for our community. Again, we all know the PACE bus system is what it is, but it's not the most convenient thing in the suburbs when you're trying to get around.
I completely agree with you on that. Troy, what are two books that you'd recommend to the audience that have been important to you as a person?
Was given to me when I first moved back to the area by Ralph Edgar from Edgar Properties, Ralph Edgar Properties, and that is The Go Giver. And that book, man, it's a business book, but it's all about connections, right? It's all about being that person that knows the people you're connected to and how your connections can greater enrich the other people around you and making those connections happen. I think that's so important, right? That we continue to connect one another and connect our resources together to help each other. The other book is Mindset, and it really is an incredible book about changing the way that we view things, right? Changing the way we look at our work and changing the way that we look at our struggles and to really try and come at it from a growth mindset. A lot of times in business, we look at things as, kind of where they're at and just kind of, keeping the status quo or whatever. But I'm right now in a doctoral program for business administration. And so my heartbeat has been to think about strategy and innovation and rethink the way that we're doing things. And that can only happen when we change our mindset and look at things from a growth mindset instead of a stagnant mindset.
Troy, if people want to get a hold of you or learn more about you and your candidacy, how can they do that?
Perfect. You can check out troyoquin.com. So that's TROYOQUIN, just one N. I know typically O'Quinn would have two, but my family had to be different. So troyoquin.com, TROYOQUIN.com.
Troy, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Hey, thanks a lot, George. I appreciate being here with you.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Help George stay on the Chicago Heights City Council. Go and donate today at tinyurl.com/AldermanGeorge 2023. Need more George? Like his pages on Facebook. Friends of George Brassey PAC, Fifth Ward Business Alliance, Chicago Heights Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center, and the George Brassey Podcast.